Hello, hello, and a massive welcome back to Learn English with the Smart Podcast. I'm your host, Chloe.
And I'm James. We are so happy to have you with us today. Chloe, you seem extra energetic. Did you have like 5 coffees this morning?
Only 3, but my energy actually comes from today's topic. It's one of those secrets that, once you learn it, makes English feel so much easier.
Ooh, I love secrets. Are we finally going to talk about the Grammar Police, the secret society that corrects people's English online?
Not quite, James, but we are going to talk about something that often feels guarded by the grammar police, the thing that scares learners the most.
I know what it is. It's the dreaded T word, tenses.
Exactly. Past perfect continuous, future perfect. It's enough to make your head spin. Learners feel like they need to memorize 12, sometimes 16 different tenses just to have a simple conversation.
And the good news, the secret we're sharing today?
The secret is you don't. For probably 90% of your daily, normal, real-life conversations, you only need to master 3.
Just 3? Are you serious? Not 12, not 16, just 3? That feels like a scam. A beautiful, wonderful scam.
It's not a scam, it's a reality. By focusing on the simple present, the simple past, and the simple future, you can handle almost any everyday situation. You can tell stories, make plans, and talk about your life with confidence.
Okay, this is amazing. This is the ultimate grammar hack. So where do we start? Which tense is our number 1?
We start with the foundation of everything, the one you probably learned on your very first day of English class, the simple present.
The old classic. I am, you are, he is. It feels, well, simple. But how much do we really use it?
All the time. Think about it. We use the simple present for 2 main things, habits or routines, and general facts or truths.
Okay, break that down for us. Habits and routines. What does that look like?
It's what you do regularly. For example, I drink coffee every morning. It's not just about today, it's a routine, a habit. She walks her dog in the park every evening.
Right. So if I say we release a new podcast episode every week, that's a routine. That's simple present.
Exactly. Notice the key words we often use with it. Always, usually, sometimes, never, every day, every week. These words signal a routine. Let's imagine a mini dialogue. James, ask me what I do on weekends.
Okay. Hey, Chloe, what do you do on a typical weekend?
Well, I usually wake up late, I read a book, and sometimes I go for a hike if the weather is nice. See? All simple present because I'm describing my normal, typical routine.
That makes perfect sense. So what about the second use? General facts and truths.
This one is even easier. It's for things that are just true. They don't change. For example, the sun rises in the east. It's a fact. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Another fact.
Or Chloe loves coffee. That is a universal truth. It is a scientific fact.
It really is. Or dogs bark. The earth revolves around the sun. You're not talking about something that happened yesterday or will happen tomorrow. You're stating a fact.
So, to recap our first essential tense, we use the simple present for our routines, what we do every day, every week, and for facts that are always true.
You got it. And that covers a huge part of our daily communication. But what about talking about yesterday or last year? For that, we need our second powerhouse tense.
Let me guess. The simple past?
You are on a roll today, James. Yes, the simple past. And the key word here is finished. We use this tense for actions that started in the past and, crucially, ended in the past. They are done, over, complete.
Finito. I like that. It's clean. There's no confusion. So, for example, I ate breakfast this morning. The action of eating is finished.
Precisely. Or, we watched a great movie last night. The movie is over. She visited her parents last weekend. The visit is complete. You can almost draw a box around that event in your timeline.
And just like with the simple present, there are some signal words here, right? Like yesterday, last week, last month, in 2010, 2 hours ago.
Exactly. These time markers firmly place the action in the past. Here, let's try another mini dialogue. I'll start. Hey, James, how was your weekend?
It was great, thanks. I went to the beach on Saturday.
Oh, fun. Did you swim?
No, the water was too cold, but I read a book and listened to some music. I had a really relaxing time.
Perfect. Every single action verb there, went, was, read, listened, had, is in the simple past because you were describing a series of completed events from last weekend. Storytelling is almost entirely done in the simple past.
That's a great point. Anytime you tell someone about your day or a vacation or a funny thing that happened, you're living in the simple past. So the other day, I saw a man trying to pay for his coffee with a library card.
Please tell me you made that up.
I absolutely did. But it was a story, so I used the simple past. See, it works.
It works perfectly. Okay, so we have the simple present for routines and facts. We have the simple past for finished actions and stories. That covers now and everything before now. We're just missing one piece of the puzzle.
The future, where we'll all have flying cars and robot butlers, I hope. This brings us to our third and final essential tense, the simple future.
That's the one. And this is where learners sometimes get a little stuck because English gives us two very common ways to talk about the future, using going to and using will.
The classic battle, will versus going to. But the difference is actually quite simple when you break it down, right?
It really is. Let's start with be going to. We use this when we are talking about a plan or an intention. It's something you have already thought about or decided to do before you started speaking.
Okay, so if I've already decided my plans for tonight, I would use going to. For example, I'm going to cook pasta for dinner tonight. I bought the ingredients, I have a plan.
Exactly. It's a pre-made decision. We're going to visit our friends in London next month. We've already bought the train tickets. The plan exists. He's going to start his new job on Monday. He already signed the contract.
So going to equals a plan. I can remember that. What about will? When does will get to shine?
Will has two main jobs in the simple future. The first one is for spontaneous decisions you make at the moment of speaking.
Ah, the opposite of a plan, an impulse.
Precisely. Let's imagine a scenario. We are in a cafe. The waiter drops a fork. You, being the gentleman you are, might say,
Oh, don't worry, I'll get it.
Perfect! You didn't wake up this morning with a plan to pick up a fork. You decided to do it at that exact moment. It was a spontaneous offer.
Let's try another. The phone is ringing. I decide to answer it. I say, I'll get it.
Yes, or maybe you're at the cinema with a friend and they say, I'm really thirsty. You might respond, I'll go and buy some water. You just decided to do that right now in response to the situation.
So going to is for plans. Will is for spontaneous decisions. That clarifies so much. What was the second job for Will?
The second main job is for making predictions, especially predictions based on opinion or belief, not necessarily evidence. We often use it with phrases like I think, I believe, or I'm sure.
Okay, so if I look at the dark clouds in the sky, I see evidence. I would say, look at those clouds, it's going to rain. Because I have a reason. I have evidence.
A perfect use of going to for a prediction with evidence. But what if you were talking about something more distant, more of an opinion? For example, I think self-driving cars will be common in the next 20 years.
Ah, that's just my opinion, a prediction. I don't have hard evidence for it. Or I'm sure you'll do great on your exam. I'm expressing confidence, a belief.
You've absolutely nailed it. So let's put it all together in one final mini dialogue. James, tell me your plans for tomorrow. Remember, they are plans.
Okay. Tomorrow, I'm going to go to the gym in the morning, and then I'm going to meet my friend for lunch.
That sounds nice. Oh, wait, I forgot to tell you. Your friend just called. He has to cancel.
Oh, really? That's a shame. Well, in that case, I guess I'll just read at home after the gym.
And boom! There it is! You see what you did? Your original plan used going to, but when the plan changed and you had to make a new, spontaneous decision on the spot, you switched to will. That is the perfect, natural use of both forms.
I didn't even realize I was doing it. It just felt right. So that's it.
those are the big three: simple present, simple past, and simple future with will and going to.
Those are the big three. Now, are we saying that other tenses like the present perfect or the past continuous aren't important? Of course not. As you become more advanced, you will absolutely want to learn them to add nuance and precision to your speech.
Right. This isn't a rule to stop learning. It's a tool to start speaking. It's about focusing your energy where it matters most at the beginning. It's the 80-20 rule of grammar. Master these 20% of the tenses and you can handle 80% or, as we said, 90% of conversations.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Think of these three tenses as the foundation of a house. You can't build the beautiful windows or the fancy roof until you have a solid, strong foundation. Simple present, simple past, and simple future are your foundation.
So for everyone listening who has felt overwhelmed, who has a notebook full of complex tense charts they can't remember, our message is relax.
Relax. Focus on these three. Master them. Use them every day. Talk about your routine, simple present. Tell a story about yesterday, simple past. And make a plan for tomorrow, simple future.
Before you know it, you'll be using them without even thinking, and you'll feel so much more fluent and confident.
And that, our wonderful listeners, is the best feeling in the world. That's all the time we have for today, unfortunately. This was a fun one.
It really was. We hope this little secret helps you as much as we think it will. Don't forget, you can find the transcript of this episode on our website. And if you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a review or sharing it with a friend who is also learning English.
It helps us so much. Keep practicing, stay curious, and remember that progress is more important than perfection.
Well said. Until next time, take care, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.